good. I hope you enjoyed your time. Okay, that was. I mean, come on, anytime the Emperor shows up, you know it's gonna be fun. Especially when they get Ian McDermott. Oh my god, he was so good. Okay. How's everyone doing today, guys? My name's Steve Goads, and we. Man, this episode. Okay, so this is the Bad Batch. This is season 2, episode 8. The Truth and Consequences, and yeah, oh my god, this episode. So I think it's funny is this episode's really good to start, but just the fact that the final 5 minutes or so of this episode are what really, like, holy cow. So pretty much as I think a lot of people expected for this episode, the fact that, you know, last episode set up a lot of the setup of like how the Bad Batch is gonna get here, and that's pretty much what it is. You know, this episode immediately starts with the Bad Batch. They're on the Marauder. You know, there's Omega. Oh man, Omega is just, a part of me was just like, oh my god, and she's just meditating, or she's trying to meditate, I should say, because Gungi showed her and told her about that in the I guess in episode 6. So she's trying to do it, and a part of me was like, oh my god, is she gonna, like, because again, it's just, I think that's another thing about Omega is just, while we're dealing with a bunch of clone stuff right now, Omega, you know, it's like, does she have, like, is she force sensitive? Is she, like, it's a question that's gonna be going on for, I feel like it's gonna go on for a little bit, for a while, hopefully not too long, but just when she's here, you know, she's meditating, Echo comes by asking her, you know, how's it going, and Omega's like, she isn't able to do it as well as Gungi, because, I mean, it makes sense, because, you know, Jedis are known to meditate a little bit better, and as Yoda said, in Clone Wars, you know, you can use the Force to quiet your mind, so it's like, of course, Omega doesn't really know about the Force as much, she just only knows that, you know, Gungi is a Jedi of sorts, she doesn't know too much about it, but Echo talks, and, you know, there's that whole thing with that, but then the Bad Batch gets a message from Rex, which, of course, leads them all the way to Coruscant, and this was an interesting moment. Omega's like, wait, what's Coruscant? And then a part of me was trying to figure out in terms of, like, Omega not being to any other planet makes sense, but I thought she would at least heard of these other planets, maybe? Like, I mean, I get the same time, I'm guessing, yeah, she probably wouldn't have known what the heck Coruscant is. She probably just figured Camino is a place, and there's a war, and these clones go out to war, but that's it. I guess, because literally she doesn't know what Coruscant is, and, you know, she's told that's the imperial capital of the freaking galaxy, so it's basically going into the lion's den. And so the Bad Batch, you know, they go in, and Rex gives them the rundown of what needs to happen. So that being, they need to get the information of what actually happened of Rampart, in Camino, but the thing, I like how Echo even, like, says, like, well, I can testify, we were there, I mean, heck, we were there, but then they're like, well, we're wanted, basically, because I can't imagine them being like, well, they know we're not dead, right? Like, I feel like if they show up and they testify, like, there could be that being like, oh wait, we thought you were dead, like, kind of thing, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, not worth the risk. So the main mission they go on is, Rampart's ship is being, kind of just being redone on in a factory, like a warehouse in Coruscant, so that's part of the mission, is the clones, or the Bad Batch is gonna go there, get the information, get out. And that's pretty much what part of the episode is. The other part is Omega. She actually goes with Rio to the Senate, you know, just to learn about the Senate, you know, just getting some information. And I even like Omega just saying, like, just asking, like, do the clones have a representative, but they don't, so she kind of feels conflicted about that. They even go to the senator for Camino. I forget her name, but she was in she was in Clone Wars, I think. But she, like, just the fact that, they're trying to convince her to at least say something about Camino, considering, it's her freaking home planet. So, and the fact that they were, like, I didn't even realize it, like, it wasn't just, like, the city of, like, Tapoca City, it was literally the race, like, Camino is, like, the Kaminoans are basically an endangered species now. Like, literally, the senator said it, like, anyone who survived pretty much is scattered off. Like, there's so few of them now. I'm like, dang, that is insanity. And yet, I mean, again, it's like, you want your serious stuff, here you go, folks, but it's crazy. Like, Omega, of course, being like, thinking like it was her home, this is her people, technically her people too, and it's like, man, it's these insane things that you wonder. But again, so the senator for Camino eventually decides, yeah, I'll testify, I'll say otherwise. But of course, at the same time, it's like, well, you're trying to testify against the Senate, like, how do you think it's gonna go? So and that's kind of why the Bad Batch is going to Rampart ship to get the evidence, because it's like, you need concrete evidence to win any arguments in this. And so their mission, and I kind of like how their mission goes. I mean, the thing is, they're sneaking around, they're trying to get to the Rampart's main deck of Rampart's ship, and they gotta go through, they gotta get past droids, they gotta get past some clones, they gotta get past some troopers. It's a stealth mission, so they gotta be quiet. But unfortunately for them, they get all the way to the ship, which is done in a really clever way. So there's like a bunch of transport droids that go around, and Tech figures out that they can hop on one, or Hunter figures out they can hop on one, so they hop on one. Tech then takes control, like, hacks into it and starts steering it itself, even though the droid who's driving is like, wait, what's happening? And then there was one moment where they start to go up, and a part of me was thinking, oh my god, is Tech gonna drive it up to the roof so then the droid's head gets knocked off or something, so that way they don't have to deal with the droid, like, trying to fight back control for the ship? I thought that's what they're gonna do, but no, they just needed to get a little higher so that way they can get to Rampart's ship that's being, I guess, remodeled, because it's starting to look more and more like a Star Destroyer. So that's what happens. But yeah, they get there, they sneak in, they get to the main deck, and they're trying to get the information, but unfortunately they have to, of course, the power's got to be on, which would then cause the alarm to go off, because they're tampering with the data, so they have to eventually defend themselves from the clones that have to come in. And at this point, I feel like the stakes are more of like, are they going to get there in time? I think was the main thing, is like, what's going to delay them here? Because Omega and Rio and even Bail Organa are at the Senate. They're trying to make their arguments. They're trying to convince them that there's something going on with Rampart. Rampart's there. He's trying to defend. He's trying more to kind of work his way around the issue. Being like focusing more, and like Rio's more of just like, it's awfully convenient how Camino is gone just like that, even though their cities were designed to withstand such possibilities. And then she even discovers some information in terms of like the funding for it. Like, she noticed that the funding for the clones was actually being diverted to other places well before Camino was destroyed. So like, what's up with that? So she's just trying to find ways to kind of stir the pot and maybe find some support, but there's none. But luckily for her, the Bad Batch are able to get the information. They're able to get back to her. They're able to give it to Bail, and then Bail reveal. And a part of me was like, okay, is it gonna be the actual evidence? Is something gonna be tampered? Is what's gonna happen? I'm like, there's something, but no, it's the actual evidence, and it's just a full. I love it when in Clone Wars, when something was revealed and it's not even like a little bit of detail, it is like a full-fledged like, what the freaking heck? And that's basically what this is. It's like you're thinking like, okay, maybe it's like Rampart maybe it's a transmission from Rampart getting the order to destroy Kamino, or maybe it's Rampart on the deck, saying like, fire upon the city, destroy everything, make sure nothing gets away. No, it is literally a clip of the 3 cruisers just bombarding the entire city, and it's just I couldn't stop laughing. I'm just like, oh my freaking god, what the heck? And of course, I'm trying to think, okay, so how is Rampart gonna get out of this? Because I'm like thinking, there's no way he's like done. There's no way he's done after this. Like, is he gonna freak out? Is he gonna snap? And then the Emperor shows up, and it's like, so, like, I love how the second he's coming, it like immediately the scene, you feel like the scene just, because you're just, oh man, like, I love that presence from Palpatine. He just like, because they talked about him possibly showing up for this hearings for this stuff, but he usually doesn't. But here he shows up, and he's just like, he's rising up in the middle. He's got the hood on. You don't see his eyes at first, and then you do. And then it's Ian McDiarmid, so like, he's just talking so good. He's just like, and I'm trying to think like, what's he gonna say here to win here? And the way he somehow, it's just crazy. So the first thing he does is he plays as kind of like the victim. He plays it as the victim. He's just like, he can't believe that this happened. He's like, he can't believe he was lied to by Rampart. He's like, I am deeply disturbed. He's like, I'm deeply disturbed that this has happened, that Rampart went ahead and did such an atrocity, and he's basically throwing Rampart under the bus. And so Rampart gets arrested. But of course, Rampart's like, I was following orders. Are you getting what? And part of me thinking like, okay, this can't be the end of Rampart, right? There's no way this is how he goes. Because honestly, it's kind of forgettable with Rampart at this point, if this is how he goes. Like, if he never shows up after this point, it's like, what the heck? But then Palpatine, so at first I'm like thinking, okay, Palpatine is gonna talk about this, but then say, it is a tragedy that we will never be able to get a clone army again. That's why I fear our protection with deceivers like him, like Rampart. We need these stormtroopers, like, we need a way. And maybe he would have been like maybe he would honor the clones, like maybe he would have given the clones something, but no, he actually takes it a step further by saying, while it is disturbing that Rampart did this, it is also disturbing how the clones just did it without question. And of course, that is like one of the most hypocritical things to say, because how many times in Clone Wars, or even in this show, The Bad Batch, where they talk about clones disobeying orders, like questioning orders, and what is their punishment? Execution, court-martialed, punishment, like just any punishment. So the fact that Palpatine spins it and basically says it's the clones' fault for following orders, it's a lose-lose situation for clones, man. And so he basically then just states how, because the clones followed their orders and destroyed Kamino, they can't be trusted. And it's like, what the freaking heck? So he approves, and because he's the Emperor, it's like, that's the other thing with the Senate. It's like, the Emperor is the Emperor. He can basically say what he wants, and bam, everything's fine. But here, he gives the Senate the ability to debate, but then eventually he just steps right in and he says, I'm gonna take over now. And so he basically does that. He initiates the legislation. So the Stormtrooper program is initiated, and the clone troopers are basically done. Like, of course, we don't know what's gonna happen to the clones. Like, is it gonna be like a genocide? Like, are the clones just gonna be wiped out? Are they just gonna be like given some severance, and they're gonna be like, okay, thank you for your service, here's a medal? Like, what are they gonna do? It's like, and of course the whole thing is like, was this Palpatine's plan? Like, And that, like, that's kind of what Rex and the group think. It's like, we played right into his hands. He's one step ahead of us again. And it's like, a part of me, like, I wouldn't say one step ahead of you, because, I mean, the bill gets passed regardless of the situation. Like, if you don't reveal the truth, the legislation gets passed. If you do reveal the truth, Palpatine was just able to spin it so the legislation was passed. The big difference is, I guess, it's just Palpatine stepped in to show that he is in power, and he also throws Rampart under the bus. Like, he's killing multiple birds with one stone, I guess, in that situation. And maybe it's just him wanting to gloat. He's just like, I'm the Emperor, I can do whatever I want. And I guess that's the more justifiable reason why Palpatine did it. Like, maybe or maybe he didn't even expect the clones to unveil this truth, but so he just had to step in to kind of spin it. And we know and that's kind of how he works. Like, he doesn't map out every single possible thing, but he always finds a way to spin it to his advantage. Like, even if he quote unquote loses, he still finds a way to win, you know? And in this situation, he did. He found a way to take this situation and make it into a victory. Oh my god. But, yeah, so this is it's like, who knows what's gonna happen next. And then to top it all off, we quote unquote lose a member of the Bad Batch. And I mean quote unquote lose because it's not like, oh no, they died. It's Echo decides to go with Rex at the end of this episode because they're like, we gotta figure out what to do now to help the clones, while the Bad Batch are just gonna be doing something. But of course, for Omega, she's kind of torn, because that means, like, Echo's been a part of the group since the start, basically, for her, and she doesn't want to and of course they lost Crosshair, so they don't want to lose anyone else. But Echo says, it's not gonna be, it won't be forever, just keep an eye on them, continue with your training, just make sure you're doing everything. But I'm just like, oh man, so what's this gonna mean? Like, Echo basically, and it doesn't like it comes out of left field, because Echo and Rex go way back, and not to mention Echo talks about how he joined Bad Batch because he felt like that's where he belonged. So now he feels like he needs to be with Rex to help the clones, because he's talked about that a few times. He's like, we gotta be helping people, we should be helping the clone, maybe, So it makes sense to hear that he wants to go with Rex, and that'll be open up to a possible episode where Rex and Echo may be on a mission. Who knows? Maybe a certain Jedi, or maybe Ahsoka might show up. Who knows? But yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy. But that's Star Wars for you. I love it. I love how, these early episodes of Bad Batch have just been, they're fun. Season 2, these early episodes of Season 2, there are, like I said, there are some good episodes that build story, add lore, are character building, or are just fun. Like, again, the racing episode, it's not one of the most story-driven episodes, but it's just so much fun. And that's sometimes all you need. That, like, I know, like, shows like The Owl House, like, a lot of their episodes are story-driven, but then there are some episodes that focus more on, like, character development and other things. It's not all story-driven episodes that you need, because there are times where you just need to take a step back and just let things play out, like, let the world breathe, in a way. So that's kind of what I like. But I don't know. Alright, well, yeah, that's everything I got for this episode, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you liked it, leave a like. If you want to leave a comment, and if you want to subscribe. You don't have to. I'm just saying. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.